Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the #1 source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter. Hey, fine folks, this is Freedom Fighter. Ain't no stopping us now. I love that song. Perfect selection. It is Saturday, October the 5th, 2024, and welcome to Saturday Night Dialogues with myself and my main man, Jester. And we will be going over some articles tonight by Goldilocks. Before we do, we're going to open up with some prayer, but I'm going to acknowledge my good brother from another mother first. Jester, I see that you have made it.
I did make it. I'm here.
In one piece.
I am.
Glad you're able to get home and safe and sound with no lights on.
10 minutes worth. All right. No problem.
All right, cool. All right, we'll start out with some prayer. Father God, we thank you for us all being here tonight. We thank you for your traveling mercy for Jester and for all of those who may have been driving on their way to their destinations before this call. We ask that you cover and protect still those who have been affected by the hurricane, and we ask for your mercy and grace upon those who may be potentially affected and in harm's way of the potential next hurricane that is on its way. We ask that you give us the heart, the mind, the words, the spirit to do what it is that you need us to do tonight on this call. We ask that you allow those to have their minds open and their hearts as well to receive it. Father, we ask also if anyone is afflicted with any sort of mental, emotional, spiritual, physical ailments, any issues, we ask that you allow your angels to surround them. And we ask that your healing angels surround them and all of us. And we know that this blessing that you have bestowed upon us, that we all await, is your gift. And we ask that you give it to us to make sure that we do good by your work and be good stewards for you and humanity. In your precious name we pray. Amen. Folks, tonight, let me go over real quick some quick announcements, and I'm going to kind of give you guys a summary. Of course, Monday through Saturday is Goldilocks QFS Dialogues, where from 10 to 4 p.m., 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., where we break down Goldilocks articles. We answer questions live in the chat. No hiding. No open the room and say something and close it when questions come and we run and our tails between our legs. None of that. Have the room open and say something and don't have the means to answer any questions because our information isn't valid. That's not us. We're face-to-face live right here with you, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Also, we have, of course, Jester's Place open from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday, where Jester as well shares his infinite knowledge on the RVGCR as well, especially from his perspective with his relationships with the UST and all over. And then on Friday in his room, I believe they still have some fun with some DJ and music. And then Saturdays from 8 until 9, Jester's Place is open right before this call, Saturday Night Dialogues at 9 on Saturdays p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Dee's room also is where she shares a ton of articles from all over the place. And then crypto finance news with Dave Big Dog. If you want to know anything related to crypto, that is the room for you right there. You can ask questions and get your answers. Higher Learning with my beautiful Angel on Thursdays, Anastasia Angel. That's on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Last Thursday, the topic was Karma Escapes No One. It was powerful. And that's where we come on Thursdays for our spiritual awakening and understanding of not only ourselves, our existence, and yes, as well for the RV. And then, of course, the daily podcast, Goldilocks Global Banking News, daily, where we provide podcasts to give you the most recent, up-to-date information as it pertains to the RVGCR as it is developing. And that sort of leads me into what I want to share real quick with you all is tonight on this call, you are going to see in writing the proof of how on October the 1st, the reset, not the dinar land called reset, but the reset occurred on October the 1st in the global banking system, which is absolutely connected to and a vital part of the eventual RVGCR. We're going to show it to you. Actually, Goldilocks shared it during the week, but it may have been lost in some translation. It may have been lost and people didn't understand it. Well, we're going to take the opportunity to show it to you tonight in writing so you can see it for yourself. You will see the shift that occurred in the whole entire global banking system. What's one thing we must understand? A lot of what transpires isn't going to be on your favorite news channels. It's not going to be in the public domain to the point of it's in your face. A lot of what's transpiring behind the scenes in order for the RVGCR to happen is actually in articles, and Goldilocks does an amazing job with the research team that presents it so that we can see it. But I understand totally not everyone has the time to read some articles. Not everyone may not feel as if you have the wherewithal to understand or comprehend some things. That's okay. That's what I believe we're here for, to help you with that. I know, and I'm going to say this real quick, I know that there's quite a few people in dinar land. I wouldn't say necessarily all over dinar land, just a few people that feel as if they want to chase behind Goldilocks to make an attempt to refute some of the things Goldilocks puts out in order to try to make a name for themselves. I encourage you, I'm only going to address this for the first time. I encourage you, if you really want to help someone, why don't you go ahead and try to do something positive and come up with some real information instead of piggybacking off of Goldilocks to try to make it look like you're challenging what Goldilocks is putting out and then putting your own name on it to try to give it relevance to yourself. When I was in the international banking world for 2+ years, I saw a lot of that type of activity going on, and it gets you nowhere. And I dealt with a lot of people that attempted to make a name for themselves, it never works out in your favor. So we operate from a higher vibration. We know that some of you are in this room under different names. And just want to let you know that you're just little lightweight peons, and your arms are very short and you can't box with us. So why don't you spend more time doing something more productive in helping people than trying to tear someone down to build yourself up? That's very insecure. It doesn't look good on you. That's just my little quick message to some of you. You know who you are, and guess what? We know who you are. And it's the first and last time I'm going to address it, but I just wanted to send that little message to, and I think it was time, because karma escapes no one. I want to send that message to you. All right, we got some help tonight. There are some articles. We're going to have the amazing Zach, who is going to help us here in a little bit if he's here. And then also we're going to have Peculiar Ram as well. That's going to help us. Zach, if you're here, please raise your hand. And Peculiar Ram, I'm going to come to you both here in a little bit. Okay, I see Peculiar Ram. Okay, and then Zach, if you can raise your hand, superstar. Okay, I see you there. Okay, Zach, can you unmute? See, make sure I got you. You there?
Hello.
Hello. All right. 1 second. Okay, Zach, I want to make sure I got you. Okay, got you. All right, cool. I'm going to go to Peculiar Ram and come back to you, Zach. Peculiar Ram, if you can unmute, I want to make sure we got audio on for you as well.
Hello.
There you go. All right, cool. Just want to make sure it's working for you.
Awesome.
Appreciate it, young lady. All right. All right. So the first, in fact, let me redo this. First two articles are actually already, the first two. The first thing we're going to jump into is already in the room. I'm going to put it at the bottom. What we are going to see, a lot of people hear about Basel III, and you may not know really what it is or have an idea what it is, but not know the full purpose of it. As a result of the 2008 financial crisis, in 2009, give or take, the Basel III capital requirements was implemented. So I'm going to share this by Goldilocks. So I wanted to preference the purpose of Basel III and how it was actually formulated to avoid another 2008 financial crisis. I know Peculiar Ram, I'm not sure, you might have been like in third grade or something by that time, but I'm not sure. I'm just so you're one of the youngins around here, but so folks, this is what Basel III for capital requirements for banks to have a certain percentage of capital in place along with gold as reserves to avoid another potential 2008 crisis. So I'm going to jump into this right here. Federal Reserve Board announced, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the Federal Reserve Board announced the final individual capital requirements for all large banks effective on October the 1st, 2024, last Tuesday. Now, for all large banks, remember, this went into effect October the 1st. Then we have an Basel III endgame also that is coming up next year. No, that does not mean we have to wait. 90% of banks globally are already Basel III compliant. The endgame is just a means to let banks know they have until then. But actually, most of them are already ahead. Early this year, the U.S. banks underwent several stress tests to determine the amount of capital requirements that would be required to be compliant under Basel III regime. The large banks have been required to fulfill these guidelines. Yes, Goldilocks says, gold is included in the Basel III capital requirements as a Tier 1 asset. And remember, we must have what? In order to witness the RV, we must have gold. You are going to see the interlinking. You're going to see the preparation that will lead to the RV with what we're going to share with you tonight on Goldilocks. Back to Tier 1. Tier 1 capital is the most basic tier in measures of financial institutions' financial strength. It includes equity and common stock. Now, when you hear tier, you see tier. Folks, please get out of your mind. In dinar land, always hearing about Tier 1, Tier 3, Tier 4B, Tier 4, Tier Z, Tier A, B, D, G. All of that stuff is just poppycock. It doesn't even apply. So when you hear and you see Tier 1 capital here in Basel, this is your real Tier 1 and what it means. Also related to allocated gold under Basel III, unallocated gold. The purpose of Basel III reforms were designed to enhance banking stability and reduce the likelihood of defaults or crashes during an economic downturn. Just imagine you go to exchange your currency in the old financial system before Basel III, before what we're going to talk about next in SOFR, secured overnight finance rate. Just imagine going into the exchanging your currency in the banking system, and the banks don't have enough capital or gold in the event of a financial crisis. Do you know what will happen to all that money and that wealth that you just received? Kiss it goodbye like an old high school girlfriend who cheated on you and left you for the high school quarterback. Gone. All that time you waited, and it's gone in the banking system. So what we see is the banking system preparing itself in the event of such a crisis. In an earlier article about a month ago, we talked about gold becoming a high quality asset. On October the 1st, last Tuesday, it meant that our large banks around the world, not just the U.S., will be holding gold as reserves and considered a high quality asset. I remember like it was yesterday when I was in international finance, and it came to, and I'll never forget, I was in a meeting in Kuala Lumpur. And it was said that in the next few years to pay attention to many countries that were going to start repatriating their gold for a future event, a global future event. At the time, I didn't know what that future event was. I didn't even ask. But around 2013-14, I remember saving several articles showing where various countries started to repatriate their gold, meaning they started to get their gold back. I was even privy to meetings where certain countries were going to get their gold back from various bunkers in the Philippines, in India, Egypt, Indonesia, countries from around the world we're starting to get talking about getting their gold back. So what Goldilocks is sharing is that when it comes to this gold and these capital requirements and the holding of them as reserves, it means that these banks will be capable of utilizing sound money. Well, what is sound money? Gold. Several states, and I'm just thinking about it, I don't know if it's Utah or another state, there's several states that have already considered gold as sound money here in the U.S. So what Goldilocks is sharing, in other words, our large banks will be subject to utilizing hard currency, such as gold, as money. This is what they're preparing for. A gold standard is a financial system where the value of a country's currency is fixed in relation to a specific amount of gold or linked to the currency of a country what does so. These are new guidelines that our international banks now, as of Tuesday, October the 1st, these new guidelines will allow us to become competitive with other countries in trade such as BRICS. It is our large banks that work with our markets the most, and these new protocols will allow them to meet new standards being applied in global trade. These new standards, Basel III standards, will protect our money in the banking system. No, it is not the end all be all of protection. There's other means of how you can protect your money in the banking system. This is just where we are witnessing the banks doing their part to protect, yes, themselves and their assets, but also their customers, their clients, which is us. As these new banking guidelines, Basel III guidelines, go into effect on October the 1st, which they did, our banking system will be learning these new guidelines to fulfill obligations between themselves and us as clients. Now, then Goldilocks shares a link from the Federal Reserve, from the right directly. And I'm going to ask Peculiar Ram if she can unmute. I'm going to ask her to assist me. Now, if you just so happen, folks, to click the link, the first link, you don't have to if you don't want to. We've shared a screenshot. Peculiar, if you can please do us a favor, Vanna White, if you can read the first section for us of what this says, where it starts at Federal Reserve up to October the 1st.
Federal Reserve Board announces final individual capital requirements for all large banks effective on October 1st.
Did it say some large banks?
Said all large banks.
A few small banks?
All.
All, okay. Just wanted to make sure. All large banks effective October the 1st. This is a part of the Basel III capital requirements, folks, for all large banks. This is global. Then we're going to go next to something else that Goldilocks has shared about the overnight financing rates, which is effective for all banks globally as well. In the next few articles, you're going to see how the shift on October the 1st happened for all large banks. That is your quote unquote tier 1 banks, which several of you have already established relationships at these large banks with your wealth managers. Do you think it's a coincidence that we encouraged you to do so ahead of time? Not at all. Okay? Thank you, young lady. That is on that one. And before we go to the next one, I'm going to ask my brother from another mother, Jester, if he can chime in.
You know, this is kind of an interesting deal. I mean, it's just another cog in the wheel here, or in the machine, or whatever you want to say. They got to lock this down. They got to get these banks under control. These minimum capital requirements for each bank, and then stress capital buffer going on top of that. And I'm trying to think. I would think it'd be more money, but that's just me. It's under 10%. So I wonder where this is actually going to head and end up. This is part of something that we haven't seen the rest of yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Because that's the rest of is the end game, the Basel III end game that is due in 2025. However, 90% of the banks have already met the requirements. Even, ladies and gentlemen, Iraq is already Basel III compliant, just so you're aware. They've been Basel III compliant for almost a year. Jester,
No, here's the thing. All this is tied into where everybody can talk to each other and everybody's on the same playing field.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what this is all about. And so, if you there's another piece that we're missing. I'm not sure what it is yet, and it's just like we talked earlier. They're trying to hide all this, and we get these little bits and pieces and clues and things. And most people didn't even picking this stuff up. You don't see it in the news or anything. So, it's a little frustrating, and I can't see the final little bit yet. But this is all just part of it. I mean, I'm part of the that they've talked about, and we a little tiny bit left to go for the QFS to come, into complete being. And this is one more step on that. So,
right. And you said something so key is that it's for all to talk together and communicate. What folks with Jester, I believe what Jester's referring to is the synchronizing of the banks globally. That's what you're referring to, right?
I'm talking about, that's exactly the way to put it.
Yep. And that's absolutely right. And we're going to see the synchronized. We're going to see how there's and folks, what Jester's referring to in the synchronizing of all the banks must communicate with each other on the quantum financial system, but they must have a means to do so.
Yeah, it doesn't make
the
any
payment
sense that you can't use talk to each other lickety split the way they're trying to design it,
Right. And the guidelines, folks, the standards and the guidelines for Basel III, and then you're going to see coming up next, we're going to share of the interlinking. This is all designed to enable the synchronizing of the banks throughout the world. For example, you have Iraqi dinar. I'm just going to get right to the language that you all want to hear and understand. No, you have Iraqi dinar, and you want to exchange that dinar for your US dollar or whatever currency you have. You got to remember that currency must be able to exchange in the new banking system under the new guidelines. But there must be a means for those banks to communicate with each other in the new banking system, because the old financial system, as of September the 30th, this past week, is gone. And we're going to share that and show it to you in writing with proof coming up. We have transitioned the reset of the global banking system occurred on Tuesday. No coincidence why there were issues with several banks, Bank of America and others, having glitches and systems down and so forth and so on. No coincidence that the strike that happened on same time, October the 1st. We're going to touch on that too and show you how that is all connected to the quantum financial system as well coming up. Also, we're going to get into here shortly on secured overnight financing rate, October the 1st, which shows the shift to the new financial system. And we must have the new financial system under the new guidelines and new standards in order to lead us to a new banking system, thus, and then the RVGCR as the result that, of course, we're all looking for. Did you want to add anything else, Jester?
No, I'm good.
That's good. Okay, we're going to jump right to the next one then. This is the announcement, the final announcement on SOFR, secured overnight financing rate. Folks, remember, we got Basel III guidelines effective October the 1st. Capital for the large banks specifically. The other medium and small size banks, the end game, they have until the middle of next year, but 90% are already there. I just want to reemphasize that. Then we have the secured overnight financing rate. A rate. Let's talk about rate. It's a broad measure of the cost of borrowing cash overnight collateralized by U.S. Treasury securities in the repurchase agreement market. Now pause. You might be like, what in the world is a repurchase agreement repo market? Folks, securities, U.S. Treasury securities. There are various types of securities, but the financial security that is relevant to all of you who are listening to this is the fact that all currencies under the reclassification of currencies, just like Iraq reclassified the dinar at the end of May from a Class C to Class AB, the reclassification of it, the dinar, and other currencies reclassified and they registered as securities. Yes, securities are under the U.S. Treasury. So this shift in overnight loans will now come from the U.S. Treasury securities to banks, markets, and more. And we're going to show here in a little bit the proof of this that is included in the shift, along with what happened with the large banks for Basel III on October the 1st. Secured overnight financing rate is a benchmark interest rate that measures the cost of borrowing cash overnight. Before, folks, in the old financial system, it was a longer process. This here now, as of October the 1st, it enables faster, cheaper, transparent transactions, not just billions and trillions of dollars overnight, bringing liquidity, cash flow into the banking system, but also it fuels the gold market as well. Gold, globally, all banks will now be, and Jester just touched on this, all banks will now be synchronized. I think Jester's words were banks will talk to each other. All systems and all banks will now be synchronized through a secured overnight financing rate on October the 1st, 2024. So this is something else that happened along with the Basel III capital requirements for large banks. You see why we told you the reset occurred on October the 1st? It was a transition and a shift from the old financial system, the old manipulated system, the old inundated, corrupt system to the new system. While this was taking place, Goldilocks shares, several shipping ports on the East and Gulf Coast were expected to go on strike, and they did for a period of time. Goldilocks shared that it actually provided an opportunity for a switch. Just imagine. Several banks had glitches or their systems were down. Actually started before October the 1st, but definitely October the 1st. Bank of America was one of them. This is because the shift in the system was resetting, but they gave us distractions to give the impression, oh, something is happening with Bank of America. Oh, these are switches in the system that occurred. The secured overnight financing rate can affect exchange rates. How? Because of the interest rate changes, the economic growth, asset prices. Interest rates can affect the price of financial assets such as real estate, such as stocks, bonds, even currencies. When interest rates are low, investors may be more willing to invest in these particular assets. Now, I'm going to ask for the lovely Peculiar Ram, if you could be so kind to assist me here. Let's get to the proof of what happened. Oh, I think I need to. Okay, you're unmuted. If you could assist us, and I'm going to share, folks, this link. This is the link in the article that Goldilocks shared. The first link, I'm going to post it into the room in case if someone wants to read along. It's the very, very first link. Peculiar Ram. Let's get to the proof of this global shift, this reset, this transition from the old financial system to the new one that occurred. If you could read in brief that section, if you don't mind, young lady.
As of Monday, September 30th, 2024, all settings of the U.S. dollar, London Interbank Offered Rate, LIBOR, will cease to be published.
Okay, 1 second. As of Monday, the 30th, September 30th, all settings, not some, not partial, all settings of the U.S. dollar. That just doesn't mean, folks, here in the United States. No matter where the U.S. dollar is and what banks, central banks are around the world, no matter what bank, small, medium, large, credit union, no matter where that U.S. dollar is, all settings. Settings, folks, is an electronic mechanism. All settings of the U.S. dollar. The London Interbank Offered Rate, LIBOR, is the old financial system of rating. And for those that don't know, and for those that thought they knew, because I've seen some of the remarks in different places, SOFR, the Secured Overnight Financing Rate, began officially on July the 1st of 2023. And it coexisted with London Interbank Offered Rate, LIBOR, until October the 1st of this year. Why? Because LIBOR ceased to be published as of September the 30th. Okay, you can continue, young lady. Appreciate it.
This marks the final step.
The what?
The final step.
Did you say final?
Yes, the final step.
Okay, just make sure I heard you. Okay,
This marks the final step in the global transition away from LIBOR.
Oh, if I heard you correctly, it said this marks the final step in the global transition away from the old financial system called LIBOR. Okay, just make sure I heard you correctly. You can continue. Oh,
the cessation.
The cessation. I'm sorry. The cessation, folks, means the meaning is ceased. Secession means ceased, ended, final, kaput, done, the past. Go ahead.
Finito. The secession follows an extended transition period during which financial institutions, corporates, and regulators have moved away from USD LIBOR to alternative rates, such as the Secured Overnight Financing Rate, SOFR.
Now, did you see here a global transition? Did it explain a global transition from the old to the new, from one system to the next?
It sure did.
Okay, now I'm going to get you help on something else. Under key developments, this is powerful, what she's about to read. Under key developments, the second bullet point, transition to SOFR. If you could please, I can't wait till you read this one.
Transition to SOFR. The Secured Overnight Financing Rate, SOFR, has been established as the preferred alternative to USD LIBOR. Unlike LIBOR, SOFR is based on actual transactions in the overnight U.S. Treasury repurchase repo market, making it more transparent and less susceptible to manipulation.
Ooh, okay. I'm going to make sure I heard you correctly on this one, too. So it says something about unlike LIBOR, the old system that as of September the 30th, last Monday, is completely gone, we're moving into SOFR is based on, did it say actual transactions?
Actual transactions, yep.
So, folks, actual transactions leads with, don't get it wrong. They tested the system. Remember, the stress test that needed to occur to get to Basel III requirements we talked about a few minutes ago. There had to be a period of testing the system. The stress test that occurred beginning of this year in January and some towards the end of last year were to prepare to take us into Basel III effective October the 1st. And then also, coincidentally at the same time, SOFR, secured overnight financing rate, based on actual transactions. Well, what you didn't know is that there were test transactions that occurred already before this. So based on actual transactions in the overnight U.S. Treasury repurchase repo market, don't forget, we constantly tell you the U.S. Treasury is the king of the RV. Making it more transparent and less susceptible to manipulation. The old debt slavery system that we were in was a system of manipulation. What was manipulated? Very, very much so. Currency prices, precious metals, now people, because there were all of the human manipulation, the human involvement. Why do you think Iraq has been transitioning their ports and customs to an automated system to eliminate manipulation? What is the U.S. doing? The same thing as of October the 1st, 2024. Because SOFR, the secured overnight financing rate, makes the new financial system more transparent and less susceptible to manipulation. I'm going to put you on the spot, Peculiar Ram. Transparency. Don't let me down. What is the key component for the QFS system?
The key component for the QFS system.
Yep. Transparency.
Transparency when it comes to
you just said it. That's the answer. Transparency.
Oh, I thought
do you remember in the room weeks ago about the QFS? We talked about, we hit home. What was a key component to the QFS was transparency.
I do. I remember. I do.
Now, I'm going to ask you one more little help in this article under conclusion. So we talked about, we touched on the brief, what happened, and now the conclusion. If you could read that for us, young lady.
Sure. The cessation of USD LIBOR marks a critical transition in global finance. We encourage all market participants to assess any residual exposure and take prompt action where needed to avoid any disruption after September 30th, 2024.
And there were some disruptions on October the 1st. Bank of America and others. This says we encourage all market participants. What are all market participants, folks? The banks are the participants. So we encourage all banks around the world to assess any residual exposure, glitches, mistakes, errors, and take prompt action where needed to avoid any disruption after September the 30th, 2024, because as of October the 1st, 2024, the next day, we're resetting our global banking systems, the reset. Does this make sense to you, Peculiar Ram?
It does.
You have any questions?
None at all. But I do want to say that I was 19 in 2008 during the crash.
Oh my Lord. I was off. I was off just a couple of years.
I was 19. I was not in third grade. But thank you.
You are. Thank you. Thank you for your help. Thank you for your assistance. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. Thank you
I
for
could
having me.
I could tell you weren't nervous. You were right at home. You were real comfortable.
Oh, I'm chilling. Now listen.
Okay. Thank you, beloved. Appreciate you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. I hope that makes sense to you, folks. My man, Jester, you're ready to give your expert 2 cents in here, my good brother.
No, I think you did a very good job tying that together with the rest of it. New system. Okay, here we are.
Right. You see the transition, October the 1st. It wasn't just cliche that the reset happened. They prepared for this, even in the event of exposures or glitches or disruptions to the system. And yeah, there were a few, but they got it ironed out. All right. Next, we're going to jump into Ripple. Ripple is ripping for sure. All right, let's jump right into this one. Ripple. For those folks, this is not about investing in Ripple. This is not about getting into the details of how much it is per share or anything, or per token or anything. No. This is the usage of it. Ripple will be used inside the banking system for Forex transfers, and in other words, for Forex transactions. Ripple enables foreign currency exchanges. Ripple enables foreign currency exchanges by doing the following. Ripple is a bridge currency. It bridges. If you're going to exchange one currency for the other, for dinar for USD, for dong for USD, for any currency that you're going to exchange from one currency to the other in the new banking system, it will be done through the world's bridge currency named Ripple. And if someone wants to Google world's bridge currency, you will see what the world's bridge currency is. Ripple. Ripple's XRP ledger allows users to transact in any currency, including fiat currencies, digital currencies, and other forms of value. This means that users can send and receive, in other words, exchange from one to the other in their local currency without needing to conduct foreign exchange. Folks, Ripple, and for those of you who may not be aware, yes, Iraq went live with Temenos, which is a Ripple company, a Ripple partner. Iraq went live in April of this year. Ripple also enables what's called auto bridging, which auto bridging is when you exchange in the new system. Behind the scenes, you won't even know it. The system will be designed to find the best exchange rate for you in the new banking system. It also offers Ripple reduced cost for exchanges, faster transfers or faster transactions that can make money transfers much faster and more secure than the traditional methods of the SWIFT system. Ripple is what's called a real-time gross settlement system. Real-time means instant and real-time. No lag, no delays. And it connects banks. It's the synchronizing of banks and payment providers and digital asset exchanges. It uses what's called a shared public database or ledger to allow for exchanges, payments, and remittances. We will have ledgers in the new banking system, and this is connected to the Ripple stablecoin that is expected any moment. Also, what happened right after this, Bitwise, here we're going back to the SEC, filed for a license, an XRP ETF. And remember, I mentioned before, the terminology in the banking world is very specific and it's a lot simpler than we may realize. ETF stands for Exchange Traded Fund. And Bitwise filed a license with the SEC for an XRP Exchange Traded Fund license. This ETF platforms offer investors low cost way of buying and selling investments. Ripple is a utility that makes currency pair exchanges possible on the new digital market. So I'm going to rephrase this. Ripple, which is the world reserves digital currency, the world bridge asset currency, it's a utility that makes currency pairs. Remember the currency pairs that were floating in dinar land earlier this year, where it showed on the left, it showed the USD, and on the right of the colon, it showed the IQD. That's a currency pair. And I was saying, nope, that's not the correct pair. And we had people saying that I was wrong. I didn't know what I was talking about. And I said, well, for someone like me that used to trade Forex for a living, I think I knew what I was talking about. So now here we are with Ripple for the currency pairs. This will enable the digital currency pairs to exchange our currencies in the new digital banking system. I'm going to bag up a little bit. We have on October the 1st, the Basel III for large bank capital requirements effective October the 1st. Includes gold. It includes the gold reserves and capital cash reserves for large banks. The secured overnight financing rate, SOFR, the ceasing, the ending, the finito of the old banking system of LIBOR to the new one occurred on October the 1st. Then we had the strike, which we're going to touch on next, at the ports. Also connect to the quantum financial system we're going to show you. Here we have Ripple, which is the means to exchange our currencies in the new financial system with a license that's now been filed by Bitwise. Before we go to the next one, we want to go to my good brother from another mother. Jester, if you would love to jump on in here, young man, I'm passing the baton to you.
Sorry about that.
You're good, brother.
So many people get confused about this whole Ripple thing. They don't really understand, XRP versus Ripple. And so it's important to keep that designation straight, because Ripple is the software company, the creator of the Ripple protocol and the Ripple consensus ledger. So the RCL is what everybody's going to be, running on as we move along. Obviously, XRP is, facilitating the transfer of money between currencies across the network, but it's a token of the RCL, not the same thing. Okay, so here's, and I'm not sure how this is going to roll, because it has a limited set point. There's, I think 100 billion XRP units, and they were created, and that's just all there's ever going to be. So I don't know that that's going to end up being, reserve or what. I'm trying to figure out how that can be a limited amount, but we'll see. As they get this thing up and running more, we should be able to see, how it's actually going to be backed, I guess you could say, because they're going to be used. So they're going to be used.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so, of course, we got other things that are coming into play too,
Mm-hmm.
with the UST and the Fed. So,
Right.
you know, that's gotta finish its little place up too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think that's all part. I think they're congruent set points. So we'll see how it goes.
Right.
I guess.
Right. Absolutely. I love that. Yep. Congruent. I love that. Perfect. Perfect. Appreciate it.
My engineering
Oh.
falling out of it.
You can't help it. You can't help it. All right. Appreciate it. My good man, Zach, if you can unmute, I am going to get your assistance on this next one, and I appreciate your help. If you can unmute, my good man, I think you're able
Hello,
to.
Devin.
There you go. There you go. All right, my good man. I am going to briefly run through this, and then I'm going to ask you to touch on that article here in a second. I'll come to you. Let me go read right through this. The U.S. East Coast dock workers strike, halting half the nation's ocean shipping. All right, folks. We all know that this strike occurred October the 1st. Okay. Midnight, September the 30th. Wonder if there's a coincidence to September 30th and moving into October the 1st. It's funny. There were even some folks that try to say there was no strike. Well, I guess they weren't paying attention. They were just following little peons that were trying to just put anything out. But the strike happened. Then they came up with an agreement that will last until, I believe, January the 15th. I'm going to read this real quick. Goldilocks shared that 36 ports were affected, and it may cause chaos in businesses all over the world. I'm sure some folks in, I don't know, I went to Walmart. They didn't have any water, and they were out of water and out of a couple things. But some people saw the effects of this. There was a J.P. Morgan analyst that estimated the cost of the strike could cost around $5 billion a day. Goldilocks shares that balance is a key component in moving forward. Now, why is this so important? Why was this strike that affected the ports, which is customs? Why was this so important? Why did this happen? How is this connected to the RVGCR? You may wonder. This is where things happen in the public domain that can even be, how can I say this, provided in the public domain as potential distractions from other things. But just imagine all the ports. This is why Goldilocks always said and coined the phrase, watch the water. Let's find out what was really behind the strike. Zach, if you could be so kind, if you have the article right there, folks, if you want to follow along, you can. If you could read the summary of this article, Zach, this came out yesterday from Reuters. Zach, if you can do that, appreciate it. The title and then the summary, if you can do that.
Sure. U.S. port strike throws spotlight on big union foe, automation.
Oh, so it said something to the extent that the union that was behind the strike, it said something about automation. Okay, if you can go read the summary, we might be getting warm on something here.
Okay, summary. Let's see what they're saying. ILA and the U.S.
Which is the union.
Yeah. They still to iron out details on automation.
Okay, this article was dated from when?
This article was dated back October the 4th.
Was that yesterday? That was yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Back
Okay. All right. So it says the ILA, which is the union, still to iron out details on automation. Okay. You can read the second bullet point if you don't mind.
Sure. Automation in ports has led to labor disputes in the US and Canada.
So so at the ports in the US and Canada, labor disputes because of automation? I wonder if that was on the news too much, but it's just clearly telling us this is what sparked the strike, is because the unions were fighting. They're fighting automation. All right, if you could read that first paragraph where it starts, New York, October the 4th, Reuters.
Sure. New York, October the 4th, Reuters. A strike by dock workers on the U.S. East Coast and Gulf Coast that disrupted much of the nation's ocean shipping this week ended on Thursday. But a key issue driving labor unrest across the continent, the growing use of automation, was unresolved.
Okay, so we see now we have a problem. Not us, well, possibly, but the ports, the unions. The problem is the challenge of automation. What would happen, Zach? You're very sharp. Hope I'm not putting you on the spot. What happens if automation takes over the ports? What happens to all those jobs for those people?
They lose their jobs. It's like a job killer.
So we know unions are very big on job security. That's pretty much it. Job security and job wages. So automation at the ports is the issue that caused the union to go on strike. I hope I'm not putting you on the spot when I ask you this next question. What other now we got the U.S. that now is focusing on automation at our ports. This is not nothing new, folks. This is just now it's coming to light because of the strike that the unions are fighting the automation. Automation is what would connect the ports digitally to the quantum financial system. Automation is the backbone of the blockchain, which is the quantum financial system. Automation is what helps to eliminate manipulation in prices and values. What other country do you recall, Zach, a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago, where Goldilocks shared that there were two countries that were at the same time implementing regulations for the banking system and digitizing the banking systems. Two countries. What were they?
Would that happen to be the U.S. and Iraq?
U.S. and Iraq. Absolutely. Now, what are we seeing now that also the ICE cutter, automated systems, customs, which is at the borders, digital automation, ICE cutter, automated system, customs, digital automation. That's the name, folks, of the global digital automation system for the United Nations. Every port is connected. Now, what country? Now, here we have the U.S., the unions fighting against automation. Zach, do you recall what country, as of last month, completed their second phase of automating their ports? You're muted. Zach, get to unmute. I don't know if you heard me. Did you? I heard the queen in the background. You can unmute. What's up, Amber?
Hello.
So, Zach, do you recall? I know Amber knows what country with Ice Cutter and the automating of their ports. What country did we recently show we're doing the same thing in automating their ports? Did you fall asleep at the wheel?
He's looking.
Was it not Iraq?
Sorry.
If I would have had Trish, she would have got it right, and Brunette Grand would have definitely got it. But the automating, the automating of the ports. So here we have not only is Iraq doing it, but also the U.S. as well. I'm going to ask your help one last time, young man.
Mm-hmm.
All right. If you could skip to where it says the union claims, it's a few paragraphs down where it says the union claims. I need you to read that, and then I'll get out your hair. I'm going to leave you alone.
All right.
The union claims the use.
Yep. The union claims the use of an automated gate system at a port in Mobile, Alabama violates their contract.
So this is a fight. So they're talking about the automated gate systems. The automated gate systems also include the automating of being able to read what's coming in and out of the country. Folks, the automation is connected to the quantum financial system. This is why in Iraq, the U.S., and other countries around the world, they're moving to if we even look at the banking systems. You look at the banking systems whereby you can go into a branch now, and oftentimes you don't even have to deal with the human. You're dealing with machines. It's the automation of the banking system, the automation of the ports. Why are the ports so important to have automation? It eliminates corruption and manipulation of the prices on currencies. And also it eliminates the corruption, the manipulation on the prices of the goods and goods and products that are shipped into a country. Why is that so important? Because the profit that a country receives from the shipping of goods and services at their ports affects the value and the rate of their currencies. So here we have in the United States, I look at this as a silver lining, as a good thing. Not so good that the unions are striking to fight against automation, but the fact that automation is being pushed to occur at our ports. But this is very important to understand and know how it's absolutely connected. There's nothing that the unions will be able to do to stop what is coming. Nothing will stop it. This is a part of the transition. There's no coincidence that this occurred on October the 1st. This was a signal and a sign that what is coming and what is happening to transition us into the new banking system, there's nothing that anyone can do to stop it. Nothing. My man, Zach, I appreciate you, my good brother from another mother, for helping.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. Yes, sir. All right.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, indeed. Jester, did you want to add anything onto this, my good man?
It's all set up.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, beloved. Yes, indeed. All right. We got one last that we're going to briefly go over, then we're going to get into some Q&A. All right. All right. This is just a quick confirmation of something that Goldilocks shared about a month or so ago. Actually, it was the end of August. When Iraq returned back from the U.S., His Excellency, the governor of the CBI, Al-Alak, received the ambassador of Turkey in Iraq. The meeting had two purposes. This meeting between Iraq and Turkey, the use of international audit firms between banking systems and trade between Iraq and Turkey, and external transfers between their banks. So here we have the two banks, two countries that are synchronizing their banking systems. Remember when we spoke of a couple of weeks ago regarding the basket of currencies, where the true and real basket of currencies, whereby Iraq, the dinar, will be pegged to a basket of currencies, one being the UAE dirham, another the euro, another was the Indian rupee, and then the last but not least, the Turkish lira. Now we see they're able to move the currencies, the dinar and the Turkish lira, through the banking system. This has never been done before between the two countries. So when we saw a couple of weeks ago, now also actually in January, the contracts were signed by the U.S. Treasury to allow this. And you may ask, why is this even relevant? Well, this is relevant because this shows how the digitizing of Iraq's banking system is underway. Audit firms are important in the regulatory auditing of banks and securing firms. They assess compliance with regulatory requirements and consider the risks that supervise institutions. Bank auditors, this is where we're getting to the dinar. Bank auditors are also verify income recognition, asset classification, and capital adequacy. Asset. The dinar is an asset. Why is registered as an asset, reclassified as a security with the SEC? So here we have the asset, dinar, classification. Remember, the classification status of the dinar was changed from category C and reclassified to a category A and B. And capital adequacy. Making sure that the capital in the banks, in the CBI, is adequate. Remember we mentioned that Iraq was Basel III compliant as of October the 1st. What happened globally we shared? New capital requirements. Capital adequacy, the CBI is talking about. Finally, the external transfers, also known as bank-to-bank transfers, is a way to move money from one bank account to another. We see now Goldilocks says, did you notice asset classification and bank-to-bank movement of money were mentioned in this article? We discussed these previous articles as requirements needed for Iraq's movement of money. Iraq, folks, has to be able to freely move money in the new digital banking system, so that when that money moves from dinar to the Turkish lira and back and forth, the UAE dirham and the other basket of currencies that the dinar will be pegged against, they must have the movement, must be able to move freely from bank to bank. They're showing that they have accomplished certain requirements moving forward in their transition as well within their banking system. And this is directly from the CBI. The link is right there in the description that you can check for yourself. Jester, I know you usually don't have anything you want to share, but I'm going to always come to you just in case you do.
Well, I appreciate that, but I don't really do anything about it.
Lucky guess.
Yeah,
All right.
Right.
All right, my good man. You ready for some Q&A? more.
Oh, yeah. That's my
rock.
favorite. You know that.
Yeah, let's rock and roll. Oh, folks, and just before we go into Q&A, please, questions,
Really?
not any pontificating. Please ask questions. And it would be so nice if there are questions related to these articles and not questions that you want us to answer based on what you heard by the infamous guru Fufus. All right. Patriot Momo, you can unmute, young lady, and we will come right to you.
Hello there.
Hello there.
My question is with everything happened at the ports, and it might be more of a jester thing. My question is, should we believe that now we are from maritime admiralty law to now we are common and constitutional law? Do you think that also switched with the banking system?
It's underway, but it hasn't done it yet. It's so close though. And I shouldn't say it that way. I guess. I mean, it could have, but we don't see it yet. Let's put it that way, because we already know the Fed's switching over, so we just haven't seen any proof of it yet. I mean, we get it from people, but not in the. It's just not out for public consumption yet.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Very good. That's a real good question.
It is a good question. I mean, okay, this is like, how we do business, Freedom. I mean, Goldie's gonna put out articles of the things that back up what we say. There's just nothing backing up that data right now. I mean, I'd love to tell you it's all done, but I can't back up the data, so I just can't go there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Okay. Who's next? Feel free to raise your hand, and we will come right to you. Okay. All right. I see a question I'm going to read. With the switching over on October the 1st, in regards to our exchanges of foreign currencies, before this switch, when you took your foreign currency to the banks, the settlement took up to 7 business days. With this new global SOFR system switch, will that help make settlements instant? To answer this question, it's not as a result of SOFR that would make the settlements instant. It's actually Ripple, the XRP ledger, that will make the settlements instant, connected to the payment systems of FedNow. All right, so that is through the means of SOFR is the overnight rate on the bank side. That's related to the banks, not the settlement for the exchanges. It will be instant settlements, and that is through Ripple /XRP and the settlement system within connect to the U.S. Treasury. So I hope that answers whoever's question that is. Who's next? Feel free to raise your hand. And just there's a question, another question in the room at the bottom. If you want to tackle that one, you can, if you would like. Or
let me see if I can find it, and I'll try to do that.
I don't want to take all the questions.
Oh, you talking about the XRP ledger one?
Uh-huh.
Well, when the system gets up, it should be, if you've access for that, then you should be able to.
Yep.
I mean, here's the thing. I don't think that, if I want to send Freedom some money, I don't think they're going to use the XRP ledger for that. Just saying.
Right.
You know,
You do it. Yeah, it's done now. So
yeah.
I'm gonna read the question just in case if someone doesn't see it. The question, folks, that Jester just answered is it XRP ledger that makes instant transfers possible for in-person banking, or will this only apply when using services such as MoneyGram? No, it'll be any service, whether it's in person or an app digital service. On your phone, MoneyGram, Western Union, all that. It's instant, no matter what, if it's in person or not.
Right.
Yep. Okie dokie. All right. Who has a question? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. We will come to you.
You're not very inquisitive tonight.
maybe it was the disclaimer not to ask Guru Fufu questions.
That's probably true. Well, we get those from time to time. So and so said this, and so said that, and then of course we got the poop stirrers all over the place as you address that this evening. But,
I had to, man. I had to.
Get it, man. I mean, we see it too over in our place. I mean, we know. You and I've talked about it. So yeah.
I just normally don't.
Talk about each other and talk to each other about what's going on out there like that. That's I don't know. These guys, they think they're real sneaky, but they're not really all that sneaky.
Right? Oh my Lord. You can do something more productive and better with your time, and you really want to help people. Help them. You don't. That's insecurity when you try to tear somebody else down to lift yourself up. It goes to show your own weaknesses. Yep.
Yeah, well, that was one of my favorite sayings that my dad taught me. Is you can't make yourself look good by trying to make other people look bad. It just don't work that way. Exactly right. That's wisdom right there. All right. Who's next? You have a question? Go ahead and raise your hand. I see someone's typing. Might be typing a question. Okay, Dee Dee, you can unmute Dee Dee and Daryl. Dee Dee and Dale. I'm sorry, Dee Dee and Dale.
Well, you've got Dale this time. Dee Dee's right next to me.
There you go. There you go.
Got a couple of questions for you guys. With the advent of the SOFR system that you explained so eloquently tonight, what are your thoughts about when we go to put our money through the exchange process itself, putting it first in a multi-currency account, so that would save time, effort, more efficient. Is that something that's even advisable, or because the way I would see it is that if we've got the money preloaded in a multi-currency account, then all I would have to do is say, okay, at this particular point, I want to execute X number of dong, for example, to be converted over. And it's already there. It's already verified. It's already, it's sitting in the account, as opposed to having to make appointments, take it in there, go through all the manual steps. Your thoughts on that, guys?
Yes. So I hear your question correctly. You're asking about preloading?
Yes.
Okay. So
into a multi-currency account.
Right. You don't necessarily have to. I don't even see it as a necessity ahead of time. However, but I'll say this. However, if you have, and because I don't want to give the appearance that I'm giving advice, so what I'll say is this. It might be wise for you to, and I know that you guys have already established relationships at the banks, with wealth managers, would be wise for you to get with the wealth manager and ask that question on what you should do, because they will have an inside track of what's transpiring within the banking system. I can easily give you my advice on what to do, but I won't do that on an open call.
Understood. Okay.
I would, but you don't necessarily have to preload, put your currencies into a multi-currency account beforehand unless you really want to. Because for those of you who are listening to the answer to this question and you're thinking of a flip of the switch, oh my God, and you should be in there first because when it happens, then it'll already be. You're thinking of a switch. That's not how this is going to work. So, I would advise you to get with. I know you guys have already established your relationships, right, Dale?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I would pose that question to the wealth manager or those you've established those relationships with, if you've gotten those relationships to the point where you can have that conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Second question that I had was, and keep me honest here, but I seem to remember you saying that Goldilocks, or if I'm wrong, just correct me, but
Okay.
reported that Goldilocks had said that the Iraqi dinar was going to definitely revalue as opposed to reinstate. And maybe some of these other currencies are going to reinstate and float versus the dinar.
Yeah, that is an actual statement from Iraq.
Okay. So the dinar is going to revalue.
Correct. At a fixed rate. Correct.
At a fixed rate.
Correct. In fact, I'm going to do you a solid.
Hello?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Okay. Give me 2 seconds, and I'm going to drop the article right into the room.
Super.
Okay. Give me 2 seconds. Okie dokie. Actually, there's more than one article. But I just want to make sure that, okay, here we go. I'm going to drop a few in there for you. Okay. Do you have another question? I'll get to while I share this with you.
Well, no. The implication would be that if Iraq is going to revalue, definitely, the other currencies, say some of the other currencies that are popular, dong, possibly bolivar, I don't know, just that they would more than likely they would reinstate at some level, some fixed rate, and then would float over a period of time. Yes or no?
I think the best way to phrase that is that they presumably will float versus saying they will reinstate to a fixed rate, then float, because in dinar land, people hear fixed, they think of fixed rate.
Okay, yeah.
So,
well,
I'm just saying that to be, for it to be clear for people that are listening, so that they're not confused. It would be that presumably the other currencies will float, then they will be fixed to a rate, versus come out as fixed rate then float.
Okay. And last question along those lines: in your history of having, trading on Forex and what have you.
Mhm.
How long of a period of time will a currency typically float before it kind of settles in to is that something that we would know, or is it just different every time it does it? Or is there like a norm of a few weeks, a few days, a few months?
Well, it will vary, but in trading on Forex, that's instant. The fluctuations are in real time consistently. Um, so there
So
is no. Go ahead.
would we expect the the guru foo is like, you got to, hair on fire, you got to run to the bank and get it done like right now.
Hmm.
Reality would be that it would be more of a more controlled days, weeks, possibly months of a floating period before it settles in at whatever
Right,
the value
right,
is.
right, and that is where the monitoring the markets and the rates daily is going to come into play, where you will have you should have a threshold or an amount that you have in the back of your mind that you will exchange at. So, for example, let's use numbers. For example, so let's say, for example, whatever currency. Let's use the dong. Let's use the dong, for example. Let's make it real. Let's say between you and Didi, you guys have said, okay, we agree on, if the dong gets to 60 cents, 50 cents, let's say 50 cents, we're going to exchange.
Okay.
Okay. So, the boss spoken. So,
Yeah.
I heard you think she said that'd be good for me. So, whatever that amount is, okay, if it hasn't gotten to that, if it's at 30 or 40, you guys may say, okay, we'll wait till it gets to 50. That's your choice. But the timing of when it gets to that particular rate is unpredictable.
Okay, got it.
And I'm not a good card player. I don't know when to hold them and fold them, so I'll even take 30.
See, and I'm glad you asked this question, and you mentioned that also, Didi, because what folks, you gotta think of also diversifying. I don't want to give you advice, but anyone advice on what to do, but I think a lot of people are under the mindset of that, because for so long, for so many years, these astronomical rates have been thrown out. People are thinking that it's real, $7, $8. And they're thinking, oh my God, if it comes out at 50 cents, 60 cents, it's not enough. When meanwhile, you could benefit from exchanging at your threshold and being wise with your returns and other investment areas, and come out more on top, have more in return if you know when to get out and do other things with the money that you have. Because some people may, and this is what I already see it. I see it in my mind. A lot of people are in the mindset, okay, I'm going to wait for such and such currency to come out $7.50 because that's what the gurus are saying it's going to be. And then it's going to be, it might get to 50 cents, 60, $1. And they're just not going to do anything because they're going to wait and wait and wait. And then there are other, like cryptocurrencies or others, that are going to be moving up. And they're going to be going up in value. And they're going to miss out because they didn't get in.
Understood. And using the dong as an example, back in '64, the official exchange rate for the dong to the U.S. dollar was $2.94. I don't see that with the amount of years that it's been suppressed that it's going to regain that type of, but it could. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just one of those things that you have to, and you said we can go and exchange multiple times. There's not a set amount. So let's say I went in there and whatever the amount that I've got, I could go in there and exchange 25% of it, lock that in, and then watch it float some more. Maybe do it again. 50% of it now, then, and then maybe it goes jumps up to a rate to where way above my expectations. Dump it all in and do the whole 100%. But I could do percentages if I sat down and just mapped it out in my mind what I felt comfortable or what we feel comfortable in doing, to where we've got that kind of pre-planned out.
And I love what you just said, because you took the words right out of my mouth. You have a plan. You said you have everything pre-planned out. What the key that you have is a plan. I love it. I love it. And what you just described is a very, very intelligent plan.
Thank you, sir.
Very intelligent. I hope people are listening to what you just said.
I did good when I married. I did good when I married him.
Hey, you know what they said when you married him? You married up. I guess they were right.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't waste those 4 years in business college.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I appreciate you. I won't keep you any longer. Let some other folks have time to ask questions. But I really do appreciate you.
Yeah. Let me ask Jester if he had any more that he can add. I'm sure he probably has a whole nother great level of understanding on that.
Well, we're just looking at it different than most people are. So I don't have a frame of reference for what you're trying to do. Our stuff's going to come in different. So
Cool.
I mean, you know what I mean?
Yep. It makes sense. All right. Thank you.
No problem.
All right. And Dee Dee and Dale, I just dropped into the room the article where Iraq themselves. I know you asked, Goldilocks said it, but we go based on facts, proof, and writing, and that's right there, right in the room for you. Do you see it?
Give me a second. I'm looking right now.
Okay. This is from the Jerusalem. You see it?
I see it.
Okay. All right. And then the follow-up article beneath that is what you also want to keep in mind, where Iraq's showing that there are banking reforms, and in their words, that they're looking to finalize by the end of the year. That is from Iraq, their banking reforms as well. So when you think of, they've already come out and say that they're working on dropping the 3 zeros into a fixed rate. And this article, the first article, and I'm glad this article is from March the 10th of this year. And then right behind that is from the CBI, directly from the CBI, after they returned from their meetings in the U.S. And that article is from September the 4th, last month, where they're saying by the end of the year, they're looking to finalize their banking reforms, and that they completed 95% of their reforms, and they only have 5% left. That is from Iraq. It's directly from the CBI, and that's in the second link on the article I dropped behind that first one.
Thank you so much.
Guys, thank you very much. We appreciate you.
My pleasure. All right. Who else has a question? Please feel free to raise your hand. come to you. And folks, it's important to when when people tell you things, don't be ashamed to ask, hey, can you show me proof? Hey, where's that article? And not no blog site, not no link to someone else's site, not to no Twitter account. This is directly from the CBI. Feel free to ask. And if people tell you things and they don't show you proof, not believable to me. All right. Who has a question? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Can you expound more on the new FDIC rules? Is it just for trust? The FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, is for the insurance requirements, new guidelines that went into effect on the 1st of October as well, for the sharing of data, exchange of data between the banks for the limit of $250,000 deposits in the banking system. So the new rules are for banks, for banks to exchange their data amongst each other regarding the deposits that are in the accounts. Okay. And it's not related to trust. All right. Anyone having any more questions? Any more questions? I know we got questions. If not, we were getting ready to have an early night. No more questions. Going once, going twice. All right. I think that's it, folks. We will be shutting it down. Everyone have a good night. Be well, be kind, and be in unconditional love. Everyone have a good night. We'll see you.
Y'all take it easy.
Take care, good man. Bye-bye. Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the #1 source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter.